What about you, Zach? Didn't bother you?
I'm ready for it now. He tried to point us off.
Why do you
last
ruin
time.
Spoiled all his fun.
I know, I'm sorry. Bah humbug.
I
It's like
get
sitting
you.
next to Spock over here.
I'll tell you this much. Man, that Christmas thing was so cool.
I heard it was.
Ah, God, it was fun. The kids made it, you know.
That's awesome.
And my
Maybe
singing.
nephew go, he's naturally grumpy.
Time is now 6 o'clock, and I will now call to order this meeting of the City of White House Council for this evening, Tuesday, December the 13th. Ms. Hargis, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. James Wansley,
Here.
Zach Briscoe,
Here.
Georgia Harris,
Here.
John Chambers,
Here.
Michael Lowe,
Here.
and Heath Rosenstein.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. All right, that brings us to item 2, prayer. Pastor Cameron SUPAK, First Methodist Church, is here with us tonight. Will you all please stand if you're able and join Pastor SUPAK as he leads us in a word of prayer. Please come up to the podium, sir.
Will you please bow your heads? Almighty God, in this season of Advent, as we eagerly await the birth of your Son, we thank you for this time and for the people who are gathered here. Lord, we remember you, and we remember that we are here to serve one another. Therefore, we ask that this meeting would serve one another, serve this community, and always bless one another. We ask this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, sir. Will you all please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And the Texas flag. Honor
the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right. Thank you for that. Please be seated. That takes us off to item D, presentations. I don't believe we have any presentations. So that takes us on to item E, community interest.
Mayor and Council, the only thing I have listed here is just a quick wrap up of Christmas in the Park. I know most of you were able to attend, and it was a great day, well attended, and ran about as smoothly as an event can run. So Stephanie Nichols, some folks at the chamber, of course our city staff, all did an amazing job of getting that set up, organized, and then off to it was a great way to kick off the Christmas season.
All right, any more comments on that?
It was just a joy to see the little kids. You know, it was a line the entire day getting on the ice skating. And it was just a joy to see them, you know, having fun.
I heard good feedback that people enjoyed the parade being in the daytime, so
Yeah.
I was happy to.
True.
You know, I heard mixed on that. Some people didn't like it during the day because of the lights. They didn't get to see a lot of lights. And then on the other hand, I heard good reviews on it because they liked not being out there in the cold and in the dark, and it was done ahead of time. So, you know, I think time will tell on if that was a good decision or not. But for the most part, I enjoyed it during the day because I had things to do that evening, and it was very nice. So it was good to see people out there. The skate rink was definitely a cool feature that we offered for our residents. I think it got a lot of good use out of it. Something I hope we can do again next year as well.
Yeah, we might get beat up pretty bad if we don't. And that skating rink was, I mean, only $5,000 from the city and then $15,000 from the chamber. That was a huge,
Big deal.
yeah, huge. They came through huge on that for us. And a lot of community partners came together for that. It started weeks ahead of that with the decorations from Keep Lighthouse Beautiful on the Four Corners and then the park. And then the morning, of course, the rec hosted their 5K, and they had their two-wheeled pace car. Michael Lowe was on his bike leading that. That was great. I mean, kudos to people that want to wake up early on a Saturday and run, you know, before and earn their food for the weekend. That was great. So. Yeah, I think there was a lot of memories made there. I did a lot of people watching. It was just great to be at the park and the kids fall down on the ice, which, you know, it was just plastic, and they'd get up and they're like, oh, it's so cold, it hurt my hands.
Let's do it again.
That's good kid, right?
So to them, you know, it was a great, real experience. And the Christmas tree the city staff puts up every year, that was amazing. It's almost become a tradition to where I say 3, 2, 1 and point at the tree, and there's at least a 10-second delay on the lights coming on. But I think it's like a Griswold Christmas almost. I just, you know, nail-biting experience for that. And the engagement from the city staff and the chamber, of course, pulled off an awesome event. But the engagement from the city staff and that you prioritize this for your employees, that community engagement this time of year, it really says a lot. And I think there were a lot of people that came and our community made a great impression of what we have to offer. There were a lot of people from out of town.
Very much so.
I would love to get the information from the people that hosted the skating rink, because they collected information about just zip codes, you know, just maybe if they could let us know what zip codes came into the city from that event, I think that would be great. So yeah, special thank you. Where's Stephanie? Did she get a day off?
She's out today.
Got a
Probably
day off,
recovering.
good.
I mean, there were several long days ahead of that for her, and I know that was a 14-hour day for her, just being out there in the event, just herding the cats, making sure the trains ran on time, and all the way from, you know, coffee at 6:30 in the morning to the movie shutting down close to 8 o'clock. She was there. So
Just so well planned. I mean, it amazed me, you know. It was just very neat, you know, so.
yeah, thank you all. Thank you all for that. The council, the city, everybody that was involved. Thank you so much for that. Anything else on the subject of community interest? If not, we will go to the next item, public forum. All right, and we do have somebody signed up for this, so I'll go ahead and read. Pursuant to Texas Government Code, Section 551.007, members of the public may speak on an agenda item during the public forum section of the meeting at time to time. At the time the agenda item is called for, discussion by the mayor, speaker shall be given 3 minutes to speak. A speaker needing a translator and interpreter may be given 6 minutes to speak. Criticism of any city employees or staff is prohibited. Those wishing to address the city council regarding an item not on the agenda must be a citizen, property owner, or business owner in the city of White House. Comments on such non-agenda items shall be limited to 3 minutes. The council will not comment on items not on the agenda. However, the council may refer the item to city staff for research, resolution, or referral of the matter to the council as a future agenda item. We have one person that signed up here. It's Mr. Don Nolan. If you'd please approach the pedestal and give your name and address for the record, please.
Sure. Don Nolan, 201 Pin Oak Drive, White House, right down the street.
All right, what can we do for you, Mr. Nolan?
Okay, this is very simple. My wife actually started this, but she had to have a medical thing, so I got appointed. Get over there.
Yeah.
So it's real simple. That section of walk trail right there at Black Hawk, I don't know how big it is. Well, we like going to the dog park over at the SPCA in Tyler, but it's a pretty large trip. Every time we go, there's people there and people are enjoying it. And I was just wondering, what would it take just to fence off a little section right there on Black Hawk between the trails? There's all this land, just to put a fence in and have a dog park. It's very low budget, fencing and mowing it. Other than that, I bet you could get donations, because that's SPCA, everything out there from what I understand was donated. Benches, it's a great place for people to be able to gather and run without having to have a leash. I can run with the dog without having a leash, and it's never a problem. It works great. Just something for y'all to consider. Look, and she posted on the White House, I don't do Facebook, she does, and she posted that there was 30 people who said they loved the idea. They came just like that. So, seems like it makes some people happy. I don't think it would cost much. Of course, I don't know the budget, but just something to consider. That's it.
All right.
Fantastic.
Thank you, sir.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe I can refer this item to city staff. When we have our Parks Committee, our Parks Planning Committee, maybe Mrs. Nolan or Mr. Nolan could be somebody that we put on that committee for, to help drive that. All right,
Yeah,
thank you.
I would recommend researching the opportunity to do that. That's a great idea, and would love to see. It says here we can recommend city staff for research, so that's what I'm doing. I'm
Absolutely.
recommending city staff to research this idea for me, Susan.
All right, thank you, Council. All right, so that's all for public forum. That takes us on to the consent agenda. This evening, the consent agenda is comprised of only one item, and that's approval of the minutes of the city council meeting on November the 14th, 2022. So if there's no changes to be made on those minutes, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second.
Motion from Ms. Harris, a second from Councilman Briscoe, Councilwoman Harris. Any further questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any of those opposed say no. With that, the consent agenda is approved. All right, that takes us to item H, other action items, ordinances, resolutions, or public hearings. Number one is the election of Mayor Pro Tem. So before we kick that off, I would like to say the Mayor Pro Tem is the council member that will perform the duties of the mayor in my absence. And they'll be tasked with engaging the community and running these council meetings. So in my opinion, it's important that the person that takes that role is comfortable with running open meetings and addressing the public in this environment. So at this time, I'll entertain a nomination for Mayor Pro Tem.
Have you ever even taken a sick day?
Will you take the
Just one.
nomination?
I was gone once,
Really?
Just one
yeah.
time.
And then he had to do a proclamation for me as Mayor Pro
I
Tem.
know, I was just wondering.
Who was
for my
pro
own-
tem this past time?
Exactly.
Mr.
Zach?
Briscoe.
Mr. Brick, Councilmember Briscoe, okay.
And I would make that nomination if you'll accept.
Yeah, you've got
The
the
nominee,
y'all.
tenure.
Vote me in, I'll gladly accept. If somebody else wanted
I'll
to.
second that.
Sure, I'll third it.
Fourth
I have
it.
a motion and a second and a third. Any further, who made the initial motion?
Me.
Mr. Chambers, who was
Okay.
the second?
Councilman Chambers.
Councilman Chambers is first, and who seconded?
I guess I
Lowe
did.
or
Councilman Lowe was second, just want to clear that for the record, all right.
Thank
Any further discussion or questions?
No, he did a good job this last time.
Sure did.
Okay, thank you. I'm
Yeah.
honored.
Oh, Zach. All those in favor say yes.
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 All those opposed say no. All right. Welcome back, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to item 2, the public hearing, discussion, consideration, and action on a rezoning request for a 5.25 plus minus acre tract of land located at 514 Willingham Road in the Guitteriez Survey Abstract A0364 Smith County, Texas, from residential estate density, RE, to residential low density, and this is by request of Jay and Debbie Bynum. Ms. Hargis.
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, the applicant and developer originally applied for rezoning of this property in August of this year. That request was for residential medium-density planned development. This request was considered by planning and zoning at their September meeting, at which the developer spoke on behalf of the applicants and of course himself. And there were several surrounding property owners who also spoke. The property owners were not in favor of the rezoning, citing concerns for traffic, pedestrian safety, the loss of sense of being in the country, and an increase of property taxes, to name a few. P&Z recommended denial of the request because they felt the jump from the current residential estate zoning to residential medium plan development was too great. The developer did not appeal that decision and withdrew his request at that time. The applicant and developer have changed their proposed plan and have resubmitted their request. At this time, they are seeking to rezone the property to residential low density, no plan development, and have reduced the number of lots from 14 to 11. The plan development designation is not sought as they have indicated their development will meet all of the requirements of the RL zoning. At the November P&Z meeting, the developer was not present, but the surrounding property owners were once again there to speak against the rezoning, again citing the same types of concerns. Two of the property owners could not attend that P&Z meeting, but they expressed their concerns either to me or in writing, in which I provided the one to you tonight. Ms. Capps that was from the P&Z meeting. She was not able to attend. Let's see. The P&Z once again recommended denial of the request because they do not believe the developer has provided enough reasons to warrant the change. The developer chose this time to appeal that decision, and so tonight this rezoning case is before you for action on that appeal, and that appeal does require a supermajority for it to be passed.
Okay. Any questions before I bring up the developer?
So you said P and Z denied this?
They denied recommending approval, yes, twice. but there's two different zonings. The first zoning was the residential medium plan development,
Sure.
and then this is now residential low development.
Okay.
All right, are you Mr. Bynum?
I represent Jacob Bynum. Yes, sir.
Okay, would you please approach and state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Scott Hart. I live at 502 Lost Creek, White House, Texas, 75791. Just right up the way from this property. And Jay and Debbie are my mother and father-in-law.
Okay.
So that's our relationship to the property owners.
Is there any information you'd like to add to the report that we received?
There is. First, I want to commend the Planning and Zoning Committee. Due to my fault, I was not in attendance at the November meeting. However, I did watch the video, and there was a lot of good discussion, a lot of good conversation. Again, my fault for not being at that committee meeting, but I do commend the Planning and Zoning for their discussions during that meeting. There was a lot of good things that were brought up. So the three main points that I took kind of from that session was the main one, which I think is most important, all of safety. It was kind of the overall conclusion of the committee that safety is kind of a side issue when it comes to Willingham Road. However, I drive Willingham Road every day as well, so I know the safety concerns there. So one thing we've tried to do when looking at this subdivision itself is the main concern that I see, especially in the mornings and in the afternoons, is little kids getting off the bus. So we've started conversations with White House ISD to put a truck stop or a bus stop within this subdivision so that bus driver gets off of Willingham, allows kids to load up on the bus, and then can re-enter Willingham in one turn. And that way they're stopped, they can look both ways and kind of keep all the kids from walking on and off of Willingham. So I think that was a big concern that came up at the last discussion with both the community members as well as the planning and zoning members. So I wanted to be sure to touch base on that. The second kind of key pillar was, I noticed a lot of the community members were discussing about the country living atmosphere. And again, I live near and adjacent to this property, so I understand the aesthetics and the need for that. But I just want to bring up that Jay and Debbie did purchase this property back in the 70s. So when they bought it, it was a rural area, there was nothing around them. And just the inherent natural growth of the community has allowed neighborhoods to be built along Willingham and closer to their home. And as you can see when you look at the zoning map, there's been parcels of land sold off along Willingham to allow smaller homes to be built and smaller subdivisions to be built out there. I have the book that you gave us once. So in the red block, and hopefully you can see on your screen, I've got this little laser pointer, but don't think it's going to show up too well. But the red cube is the property in question. You can see it's surrounded by, of course, residential estate, residential low, residential medium, and then of course there's some high density around it. But the majority around it is that low density. Little zoomed in shot here, and again you can kind of see where we're shooting for there is that low density, which is across the street, and then right down the way across the street as well. And you can kind of almost tell the natural progression of that low density as it moves south down Willingham, as pieces of folks' property were sold off for homes throughout the years. The property immediately to the north of us is actually a 0.3 acre lot approximately, so it kind of meets that low density even though it's still zoned as
The yellow,
Yes. Yes, sir.
north kitty corner?
Yes.
Okay.
So this was the original proposal that we provided in our August planning and zoning meeting. We were going for that planned development because, as you know, that creek that runs through that property, there's also a transmission line that runs through that property. So it really narrows what you can do. So we were trying to, or what I was attempting to do from my in-laws was maximize the houses there, but keep the backyards and front yards at a decent size and still have some really nice homes. Based on the feedback from planning and zoning at that August meeting, as well as the feedback from the community members that were here to speak to it, we've kind of revamped the layout. We've reduced the lot so that it meets that lower density housing zoning requirements. We meet all those requirements. The entire subdivision is going to be surrounded by privacy fencing with brick columns in between each lot in order to give it a good aesthetic appearance from Willingham Road. And then of course once you get into the neighborhood, it has kind of a nice subdivided, nice quaint neighborhood. This right here, as you can see, this is a picture of the houses we're planning on building in there. 1,700 to 1,900 square foot homes, 3-2s, 4-2s. And as you can see, kind of that country farmhouse look that's going on here in White House, out towards Hagen Road and in Tyler as well. And again, we just feel, and then Jay and Debbie, my mother and father-in-law, feel that this is consistent with the growth that's moving south on Willingham. They understand too and sympathize with wanting that country feel, but they too have seen the progressive growth move in on this property. And so given their time and their age and towards retirement, they're just looking to do something positive with the property that they still own and maintain. Consistent with the Willows, that's on the entry portion of Willingham. Waterton is another big subdivision. This was where they're building a lot of homes, as y'all know, out on Hagen. But really, I think this property and the way they're gonna build the houses, and Jay and Debbie both have expressed concerns of they want it to look nice. They want it to be family friendly. They want things like the bus stop so people can come there, have their kids safely wait on a bus if they need to take the bus to school. My kids go to Kane, it's right there, it's a quick shot over to the school, the new middle school's there, it's all close, it's very centralized to city center. We were actually able to take our ATV up there to the parade on the 3rd and see all that because we live so close as well. So we think the proximity to city center warrants the need for a residential low density subdivision there within city limits, so that they're still a part of the community. And those were the three main takeaways that I got from P&Z in November was the three main concerns, so I just wanted to address those.
You said that property was bought in 78?
I believe it was 72.
72, okay.
Jay's getting a little on up there in age, so he was trying to remember back.
Sure. Okay.
You guys have any more questions?
And the bus, you say, can go in to the development?
Yeah, so we're creating a turnaround, and something we're also looking at the subdivision, one of the, or two of the community members were concerned about that road being so close to their entry. And to meet fire code, we want to make sure either one, we have a proper turnaround, or two, we have a hammerhead. That way the fire engine can come in and back out. Same thing with a school bus, same thing with a dump truck, or a trash truck, excuse me. So we're potentially wanting to move that entry to the street towards the center of the property. That way, no cars are entering to the neighbors to the north or the south, and they have a defined road going into that subdivision.
Okay.
Anything else?
No other
questions, I have some comments.
Okay.
Yeah, comments.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's open it up to comments and discussion.
So just for clarification, the way it's zoned now, is it okay for me to, or do we need to close the public?
We can open the public hearing.
Yeah.
Oh, we haven't, okay, I'm sorry.
What do we gotta do?
No, but he was asking for comments. We just haven't opened the public hearing yet.
Okay, so, back to my comment. The way it's zoned now, somebody could go in there and build 5 houses. So this, what's being requested is 6 house difference in the way it's currently zoned.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. If there's nothing else ahead of it, I'll go ahead and pause the regular meeting for now, 6:22, and open up the public hearing. Is there anyone from the community that would like to comment on this? If so, please step forward, state your name, and let us know what you have to say.
My name is Shannon Capps. I live at 506 Willingham Rd. You have the letter before you that I sent to the Planning and Zoning Committee the last time. My biggest concern right now is increased taxes. I wrote a check today for $2,800, nearly $2,900 for a little house that's less than 1,400 square feet on a tiny piece of land that's close to this development they're proposing to you. My taxes have increased tremendously over the last few years. I pay as much almost in city taxes as I pay in school taxes. And I'm very concerned with that. Safety is also one of those issues that I raised the last time. And it's not just safety of children who potentially could live in this subdivision. I came in late one night after taking my mom for her cancer treatment, and I drove down Willingham from the opposite direction, headed north on Willingham. And a young lady was walking in the dark She had been to practice after school. And that's the kind of traffic I worry about. I see kids traveling that road all the time, and it's not just kids going to that property. They're going beyond it into the county properties. I see cyclists traveling that road a lot too, and that's a very big concern to me. Even if it's just 11 houses, you put, the average household now is 2.6 people. You put 2 cars, 3 cars, an ATV and whatever else in their hands, and that's that much more traffic on that road. There is no lighting in that area. It's very dark at night, and it is a big concern to me. I'm also concerned about my neighbors. My neighbors, a lot of them are elderly. This is something they like. They like their property to be quiet. They like their neighborhood to be peaceful. And I'm frankly just dreading the entire building and construction process and the additional noise that comes with that. One thing I will also tell you too is, I'll get back to this tax situation. I'm on a fixed income. I retired a couple of years ago. I've lived in the White House nearly 30 years now. And I had hoped to live in relative peace and not have to worry about too much. But our world has changed, and I do understand that. But if I don't tell you what I feel and how I feel about that, then it's my fault. So I'm telling you now that I am opposed to this building and subdivision going in primarily because of that increased taxation. Each time a new house goes up, I get a letter from the county that says, you know, homes have sold in your area, so guess what? They're going to increase again. So I hope that you consider that, and I hope that you know that I have nothing against these home and property owners there. I'm just concerned for myself and the neighbors that currently live there. If I'm not mistaken, the Bonhams no longer live in that area. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they do. So their impact, or the impact they're going to feel from this, is nil. So I would also ask you to think about that too. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this subject? Yes, again, please state your name and address, please.
My name is Preeti D'Souza, and my husband, Anil D'Souza, and I are property owners of 516 Willingham Rd. We live in the property just behind this site, which is proposed for construction of a new subdivision. We just purchased our property from Jay and Debbie Bynum in February of 2021. So we've just been there about a year and a half. We bought the property because of the country feel. We bought 10 acres from them. I think they own about 40 acres or so. I could be wrong, but around that. When we came to see this property and we looked it up on the internet. Actually, I was the only one who saw it. We moved from California. My husband just saw it off of the internet, and we zoomed in. We looked at everything, and just that country feel, being so close to the city, but yet having that country feel and being so close to a good communities and school, a really excellent school district. All that drew us from a very busy city in California to a nice small country feel in White House. And that was the reason we bought it. And over the last year, we've asked through their son-in-law, not Mr. Hart, but their other son-in-law, we requested about this piece of land because it's right in front of our house, whether we were interested in purchasing it and whether they would be interested in selling it to us. It's 5.25 acres, but it's connected to our property. And we were always told that they wanted to build their own home on that piece of land. And we said, okay, that seems fair. It's their property, so that seems fair for them to build a house. And we were shocked when we saw that there's going to be a subdivision possibly coming in that area. There's no way for us to get out of it. We're kind of locked in there. We've just been there a year and a half, and we're going to lose our privacy. There's about 100 trees on that property, which is going to be cut down. Again, construction, the noise, the building for about a year and a half, as long as it takes. The added traffic in that area, property taxes. We are paying $4,000 more this year than we paid last year. $4,000 is a lot for a single income family with 4 kids. That's a lot for us, and we know at every time there's a new construction, it does impact us. It impacts everybody in that neighborhood, and so that's a concern for us being a single income family. We're not getting any younger. We can go and work multiple jobs to be able to pay. We don't want to be forced out of our house. That's our house we work for and we live in. And we still have a mortgage on it, so that's our big concern. The other thing is, the pastor who said a prayer before we started the meeting talked about blessing the community. And based off of everybody who's been at the previous meetings, this subdivision does not bless us or the community or the surrounding neighborhoods. It's just something which is their project, and it's going to bless them for sure. It's going to be something they dreamt of, and I completely understand that, but it's not going to be the benefit of us who live around that area. And it's something we'll have to live with for a long time. So I request you, I urge you to please consider, when you make your decision, that all of us who live in that area are going to be impacted by this, by the traffic, the taxes, and everything that's going to affect us. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this subject in the open hearing? Yes, sir. Again, please state your name and your address. Everybody stayed right at 3 minutes, but if you get close to 3 minutes, I'll raise it.
Todd Turner, 511 Willingham Rd. I want to make sure where the entrance is off Willingham Road to this subdivision that's being proposed. Where is it?
Okay, Ms. Hargis, can you speak to that?
Where exactly is it from my property line?
I would prefer, because I don't know where his property line is, I would prefer if Mr. Hart can give us some information, if that's okay.
Yeah, if Mr. Hart needs to provide more input.
Sure. I'm sorry, sir, is your property across the street here?
I live across the road.
Maybe, can we pull a zoning
Yellow,
map back?
yep, there you go. No.
I think that, your zoning map.
I live, where is the proposed?
So here's the proposed right here.
Okay, I live right here, right there. And where is?
Yes.
Right in there is what he's saying.
And no
I think it's
secondary entry?
Straight
Right.
across the street.
Straight across with the one come up, right there.
I live.
Okay,
in this-
thanks.
He lives in that little.
Oh,
A little
okay.
more.
Gotcha.
He lives like a.
Oh, up a little more.
Yeah, the one that looks like Oklahoma. I live
There you
there.
Gotcha.
Okay.
And the entrance to that subdivision that's being proposed is the southernmost part of that subdivision, I believe.
Right, and I was out there one day when they were measuring where everything was going. I lived here 30 years. I've seen a lot. I've seen the willows go up. I've seen a lot. And only one other time have I been in front of y'all. Forgive me, I had a stroke, so sometimes I don't talk very well. I'm just echoing what the previous owners had said. I spend buku money on taxes already, more than double what Shannon does, and I don't work. And I'm afraid that 11 houses going in is too much. Right now, it's zoned for 5. I think that's fine. There's no lights down Willingham. All of you know. Excuse me. There's no lights whatsoever. It's dark. A kid was walking down the street at dark 2 days ago, and I didn't even see him. I almost ran over him in my own driveway. That's how dark it was. So, or dark it is. But I just echo what the other property owners are saying. So, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else? Okay. Yeah, please, once again, state your name and address, please.
I'm Bob Lenham. I live at 410 Willingham Road. And we've owned property there since 2004. I'd like to just reiterate what has been said earlier and agree with everything that has been said earlier. We have acreage and we have livestock. on that acreage. When the development came in, it's on Lynn Street, we had problems with kids that would come over and hop the fence and want to go over to the horses. We had poachers, and that is all since abated. You know, everything is cookie set right now. Putting now 11 homes on a 5-acre tract, we would obviously be concerned over who is coming into that development and where are they going to go, where are the kids going to play. I have nothing against kids playing at all. We like that country atmosphere, and most kids, I think, do like a country atmosphere. But we would be very concerned over how many kids might have the opportunity then coming onto the acreage that we have, messing around with the livestock we have, and possibly affecting their lives. We've got horses on the property that we would not want to see colic because kids have been feeding them the wrong side, you know, the wrong kind of feed. And 11 homes on 5 acres, we're just cramming something in. I think you look at the money situation with it. I have nothing against people, you know, bettering them themselves, but I think it's gone a little bit too far to have 11 homes on a small 5-acre tract. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak in the public hearing? Going once? Going twice? All right, thank you for that input. The time is now 6:35, and we'll close this open hearing and re-adjourn into regular council. All right. You probably didn't feel it, but we're back. This is the part where we have a final discussion on the subject that we've heard. Anybody have any comments or questions?
A lot was said there.
Yes.
A lot was said.
What is the residential high across the street? Because I can't picture this. I'm sorry,
What was the what?
It's residential high zoning, the current use of that property is not.
But it's not used.
Okay. That was throwing me off because I was trying to picture what is there and I was like, I just can't.
I think it's related to the apartments that were, aren't the apartments kind of across that strip?
But they're on 110.
Yeah, they're on
Okay,
110.
that I can picture. Okay, so it's just nothing really there.
With large parcels now that are single family.
Okay.
Along Willingham, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, this is pretty consistent with what seems to come out of planning and zoning. If somebody wants to reduce on average the number of houses per square acre, it's pretty good, like that goes through pretty easily. But if somebody's looking to increase the number of houses per square, I mean, that was the same thing with the Sparrow Track. It was designated as high. They could have built apartments there. They went down to a planned residential community with no apartments but some houses. The same thing on the Rose Garden was residential low and residential medium and residential low, and they wound up averaging to where there were fewer houses per square acre. And so it's pretty consistent recommendation that comes out of planning and zoning for things like this.
Well, so we all have choices. Everybody has choices. Everybody has a choice to move where they moved. I understand taxes increase. I pay quite a bit of taxes here in the city of White House. Increased taxes. I know someone mentioned 2,900. They mentioned 5,000. Mentioned a bunch of other things. Owning a property. Values have gone up for one. All right, so we all have choices. The property owner that in discussion here made a choice, and he bought this property in '72. He didn't know. They didn't know what was going to happen. But they probably bought that property because they wanted country living, peace and quiet. Because I've heard peace and quiet from people that have come up here. They want peace and quiet. Well, unbeknownst to him, everything started moving south. And the peace and quiet then started becoming a community. And we had the city of White House that then started to grow and grow. And so the property in question right now hasn't been developed. It's just sitting there. And maybe they bought it for peace and quiet, and maybe they're sitting there like, you know what? This isn't peace and quiet anymore, so we're going to make some money. We have a choice here. We can sell this or we can develop this. This is capitalism at its finest right here. Somebody bought a property back in '72, had no clue, but guess what? They got a great opportunity to make money here. I understand what everybody's saying around there, but again, it goes back to my one word, choice. We all have choices. We can choose to stay where we're at. I guarantee you, if any of these property owners that do not want this property to go in, if they put their house up on the market, including the individual that said they just bought 10 acres a year ago, a year and a half ago, I guarantee you that property will get bought really fast. And they will most likely make a good, pretty penny on it. White House is a very highly sought after area. And I believe that we need a great community like this to bring in good people. This isn't just a community. This is 11 opportunities, blessings. We heard the word blessings in here, that some aren't being blessed, but this one in particular person is just going to be blessed. Well, I look at it as though there's going to be 11 other people who are blessed because maybe they've been really hoping for a great community in this area to be put in so that they could purchase it and raise a family. Why am I going to say, hey, no, we're not going to do that because we don't want progress. So I understand the concerns, I do, but I also understand the word choice and I also understand the word progress. And for me sitting on council here, the reason why I wanted to be sitting here was for progress and to continue to grow our community. And I feel like this is a great opportunity. I'm sorry for those who don't agree, but that is my suggestion, that is my opinion.
I agree with Heath. I understand the concerns, but this to me is not an unreasonable ask. I hate to go against planning and zoning, but this is, to me, it fits the growth of White House.
How far south is the city limit from this? How far down does it go in Willingham?
It's about 100 yards, I think.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's,
So Willingham is an absolute nightmare for those of you that don't live off Willingham. During school time, I actually live off Willingham. I live in Cameron, off Cameron Street. And trying to get out on the street when there's a school event or anything else is already terrible. So you have a choice. You can cut across and try to get out on 110. And it's just as bad because if you're going that direction, you've got to cross over traffic. So it's not that I'm opposed to change or anything like that. We're talking about 5 homes will be built there regardless, right? It's that I don't think that the infrastructure at that location is currently equipped for any additional traffic. And especially 6 times 2, that's, you're obviously going to have probably 12 new cars off that one change. And I don't think it's suited for that extra traffic. So I'm strongly opposed.
Well, I wish we could have more red street lights. That's my big deal. And by God, if we need 3 more street lights, put them up. Now they're LED, they're energy efficient. I'm a big proponent for street lights. When I was growing up, we had street lights. And there's one thing I've noticed about Texas. We don't have as many street lights. It's just something I noticed. But I agree with what's been said about the growth and it's progressive and people like what we've got in this town. But now I want y'all to really take a close look at the street light situation on Willingham. Put some more up there,
So we talked about 5 homes definitely going in, regardless. That's
If they
10
choose
cars.
to do it in.
Right, so let's just say that's 10 cars. So we're talking about an additional 12 cars.
Sure.
That's what we're talking about here. Regardless, 10 cars are gonna go in there. So we're talking about 12 additional cars. And we're saying we don't want, because of safety or because of infrastructure, 12 additional cars. We're gonna nix this person and we're gonna say, you made a bad choice in 72. And because we've zoned it right, because we've architecturally looked at it and said, you know what, it looks like and we're gonna bring in some good space, some good new homes. It's gonna be 12 additional vehicles, maybe 12 additional kids out of whatever the demographics are. That just seems like a very small number to deny progress, and also taxes for our city, income, just demographics in itself. I just see the difference here. And I don't see that. If it was 150, maybe 7,500, but 12, we're talking about 12 additional vehicles.
So,
Doesn't-
so you talk about a bad choice in 72. I'm not concerned about that. I'm concerned about a bad choice in 2022 made by us. And that's really what this comes down to. So as it is now, it can be developed at a much lower density versus what we're being asked to change. I don't think that we would stop development if we chose to deny the request. Or maybe they reevaluate whether or not they want to do something different with the property altogether, like sell it to the people who've already asked, right? So that's the only point, is that just because somebody comes in here and requests a density change doesn't mean we have to grant the request.
Let's look at it this way. The property, just hypothetically talking here, the property right past this property, somebody could put a neighborhood on there. It's not zoned because it's in the county, right?
Exactly.
So any size subdivision could go in right there at any point. Okay.
And across the street.
And
we're
across the
gonna
street,
find
it's all
it.
residential level.
It-
Now, I
in
get the
the-
safety concerns, but again, I'm gonna stick with it's not an unreasonable ask. It fits the consistency of what we're doing all over our growing community, and I think it's a fair ask.
I don't think that I'm comfortable putting a hammer down that, no, you cannot come into our city at this time. We're gonna stop it now because it's not unreasonable at all.
So
And people can come across the street at any moment.
I'll throw two things out there, and it's kind of one on each side, but the way it's zoned right now, residential estate, you would wind up with $800,000, $900,000 homes, which would actually increase, I think, the comps in the area. It happened to my father. He, in 1985, he built a house next to a pasture, and that pasture became a compound where people built $1.2 million homes, and all of a sudden his taxes go up. So the tax implications on smaller homes being built there, I think, would wind up being less than they would if the larger estate homes went in. But we are pretty much out of inventory when it comes to residential estate. I don't know that the city has a whole lot of residential estate that could be used to build the types of things that are zoned here. So that's kind of one on each side. Like y'all said, I'm not sure if the development would stop here if it was denied. Maybe residential estate would come in, but then the tax concerns that you heard would probably come to fruition.
That's a good
And
point.
to that point on the residential estate, there's some down here, it's basically kind of on the outlying outskirts, like on the four corners. I know you can't see the whole map on here.
Oh, yes, it is more on the outside outlier of the city, yes.
And that's kind of how it blends. You go from high density in the heart of the city.
Right.
It goes out to lower densities as you go out, and it kind of fans out at the very end of the residential estate. Is what it's going for. As hard as it is to annex these days, it's likely that we won't get anything south of these guys. This is most likely our border for the city south for a long time to come.
I feel like if you put 5 huge homes in that spot, it just is weird. It just doesn't flow. It's just an odd spot to put.
Yeah,
that
that wouldn't require any zoning
I
change.
agree.
They
That's
would
why-
just start building right now.
Agree, but that's why I'm for the smaller homes, more of them, because it just flows nicely.
Well, with the interior of the city, for sure.
Absolutely. The way it's.
And the brown zoning right across the street is residential high, correct? Okay. So we've got unzoned, residential high on both sides of it. Or on one side.
Well, that's residential estate.
Residential estate is all around
Yeah,
it.
Yeah,
that's-
Okay.
that's what the
So
light.
now,
That lighter shade
Yeah, I
is
see
all
it.
residential
I got you.
estate.
I was
Yeah.
looking.
That's all it's.
So if there's no more discussion, I'll call the question, entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the rezoning request of the Bynums from residential estate to residential low.
I'll second it.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. This one requires a supermajority. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Heath Rosenstein,
Favor?
Zach Briscoe,
Yes.
Michael Lowe,
Yes.
John Chambers,
No.
Georgia Harris.
4.
We have
All
4
right,
to
with
1.
that, we reach supermajority and the motion passes. So that takes us on to item number 3, discussion, consideration, and action of Rose Meadows subdivision, Unit 1, Block 1, lots 1 through 23, and Block 2, lots 1 through 14. Mrs. Harris.
Yes, sir. Mayor and council, the plan development plat that has been reviewed by both staff and our engineers, all comments have been satisfactorily addressed and staff is recommending approval. This is back before you because it is a plan development.
Okay. I saw in the report that on November the 7th, we received a revised plat for Unit 1 only.
Yes.
Can you help us understand what that means?
They had originally platted the entire development, but they only sent over construction plans for Unit 1. So we only need to plat currently Unit 1. It needs to coincide with the construction plans.
Okay. And can you describe what you mean by unit?
Everything you see here in red is Unit 1. The other lots will be probably Unit 2 and possibly into Unit 3.
They're gonna phase the
They'll phase it in.
Can you show us on the map where those might go to? What are the areas that are open on that property? I guess it would be to the, where am I at here?
This-
Memory Lane?
future development.
Okay,
And
gotcha.
then there's more further,
Further down here, so it would be going towards Hagan Road.
this is Memory Lane. These are the existing
These are
homes to the
homes.
north.
And then Railroad, obviously, is over here.
I see. Okay.
Okay,
So
so
that is
this
north.
unit is what backs up to the, what is that, Kelly houses?
Correct. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
thank you.
All right. Any further discussion on this one? I forgot to see if this was, this is not a hearing. Okay, so yeah, just open discussion on this one.
Yes, sir.
Does everybody understand what we're looking at and voting on? I want to make sure. Because it's, I mean, it's planning and zoning, it's a lot, so.
Remind me again what we're voting on for this one?
So we are approving, the final plat, so this is the final,
Okay.
because it's a planned development, all of the final plans come through us. So, I mean, this is remember when we had the discussion, it's like, there's no way that they're gonna build on all those properties?
Right.
Sure enough, you can see that some of the properties are set aside for drainage, even on this, there's like a retention properties there. So it's just final approval of what's already come through planning and zoning. I believe they had some notes, they had a lot of
Yeah.
comments that planning and zoning made on it, and all of those comments were satisfied, and they're a part of this here.
There were comments from staff and from our engineers when we review the plat to make sure it meets our standards.
So just double checking on things that maybe weren't obvious. I see.
So the motion would be as reads in the recommended motion, with the comments from, contingent upon comments from, planning and zoning.
Move to approve or deny the final plat for Rose Meadows subdivision, Unit 1, Block 1, lots 1 through 23, and Block 2, lots 1 through 14.
No, and the answer is no, and because all of those comments were satisfied before it came
Yes.
before
Got
us,
it.
that's.
Okay.
So
That's
sorry.
what I wanted.
No, that's all right, you were looking for the language. All right, there's no further discussion, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the final plat for Rose Meadows subdivision unit 1, block 1, lots 1 through 23, and block 2, lots 1 through 14.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilman Briscoe, and I think I heard Councilman Rosenstein first, so that'll be the second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. With that, the motion passes. That brings us on to item 4, Corey Drive traffic data presentation. This is good stuff. Chief Robeson, come on up.
Alright, good evening, Mayor and Council.
Hey.
Since the last meeting, we've conducted a traffic study over on Quarry Drive, and we intend to conduct another traffic study later on, early next year. Once some changes have been made over there, we want to give some time for people to adjust. So we'll be also comparing future data to the current data. Some of the questions came up last time about speed studies, traffic speeds, things like that. I want to clarify a couple of things. I went back and did some more research, make sure that we're providing you the correct information so that you can have that to pass along or to also for your decision-making processes. So Texas is a little unique in the way that these speeds are set up. And it would take probably a 4-hour lesson to explain how all that works. So very simplified in just a few minutes.
Thank you.
The main thing we need to know is that for residential streets in Texas, what they call the prima facie, the given speed limit is set at 30 miles an hour. So we don't have to post speed limit signs on residential streets, and the speed limit is 30 miles an hour. However, years ago it was chosen to change that speed limit to 25. We have followed all the correct procedures in doing that. That's the end of that part of it. It is done correctly, so we have nothing to worry about. In fact, the state says, and I'll read here the quote, if the governing body decides that the prima facie speed limit is unreasonable or unsafe, they can make it 25 miles per hour, which is where most of our streets are set. So we're good with that. As with some of the laws, the state doesn't provide a lot of guidance on how to do certain things. They say this has to be done, but then you figure out how you want this to occur. So the state does not provide us information on what is considered unreasonable or unsafe. So we have a decision to make upon that. TxDOT, which is not a governing agency that makes laws, they're their own entity. They control streets and kind of control some of the things that we do. But as far as setting speed limits, they don't do that for our residential streets. I bring them up because they have their own way of setting speed limits on highways. That way you just don't have randomly set speeds, which early in the year they conducted a speed study out on 110, which has resulted in the future change of speed limits. They use what they call an 85% determining factor, which is once all of the different speeds are lined up, they pick the 85th speed per se. If 100 cars came through and they were doing different speeds of, let's say it's a 50 mile an hour zone now, if you line them up, say people are doing between 35 and 60, you put them in order, whatever that 85th percentile is out of 100 cars would be what they would use. Now that's not a 100%, that's what the speed is. There are some other factors that do go into it depending on, if it's a curve in the road, depends on how wide the road is, depends on how far you are from cities. There's a lot of other factors that go into it, but that's the general rule. And that's generally what most cities are going to follow, is that type of rule. So that's kind of the background of what a speed study is. So the speed study box we put out on Tuesday morning, 11/29, it ran for 6 days until the Monday morning, 12/5, on Quarry Drive. There are some factors that I put into it. Without going in, again, deep into all this, I tell it to eliminate anything less than 10 miles per hour. I don't think that that's useful information to determine 85th percentile. And that also eliminates bicycles or whatever else is coming through, maybe the male person driving through. We don't want all that data being collected. So that's all removed from what you're seeing. So the chart there is all the data put together. It's there's a lot of information there. So I'm going to explain a little bit about it to help you further understand what it is. I split it up into northbound and southbound. What I mean by that is northbound would be heading towards Hagen Road, southbound would be heading away from Hagen Road. It picked up 4,939 cars, which I was a little surprised. It's 833 average. One of the charts there shows a bunch of ups and downs for the week, and you can see that it actually remains about the same throughout the week. I also found that to be interesting. So even on Saturday and Sunday, you're still staying pretty consistent. To my surprise, I would have expected more people heading northbound because of morning traffic. And actually, it shows that in the southbound traffic, again going away from Hagen, was 51.5% versus 48.5%. So there are slightly more cars turning off of Hagen onto Quarry than vice versa. Just some little interesting nuggets there. The average speed southbound was 23.6. And that 85th percentile, it calculates that for us, was 28 miles per hour. And northbound was 25.4 average, and the 85th was 30 miles per hour, which makes sense. If you're turning off of Hagen, you're not quite speeding up as much where we put that. It's further, it's closer to Hagen than it would be. So that makes sense. I found it interesting that nearly 20% of the cars were registered at under 20 miles per hour. To me, that's kind of a shock. I didn't really expect to see that. And 58.6 were driving 25 or under, which is the speed limit. So 58%, almost 59% of the cars are driving under the speed limit. If we bump that on up to 30 miles per hour or under, 90% of the cars are driving 30 or under, which is 5 miles over the posted speed limit. And if we bump that all the way up to 35, it's 98% of the cars are driving 35 or under on that road. What that does mean is approximately 1.7% of the cars are driving 36 miles per hour or faster. Again, broken up, if you break that down into 6 days, it comes out to be a small portion of the cars out of nearly 5,000 cars that are driving excessive. So there is a legitimate amount, there legitimately are people that are driving way too fast on that road. But the good news is it shows to be very, very small portion of the cars.
So you said, I'm sorry, what percent drives over 35?
1.7%.
1.7. Wow.
So out of 100 cars, you've got less than, on average, about 2 cars are driving 10 miles or more over the speed limit. With state law being 30 miles, again, we can play with some numbers here, but you're looking at not a whole lot over up to 35 or 10 over, which would be 35. Again, it sounds like a lot, and people should follow the speed limit, obviously, but when you look at 30 and under, you're hitting 90% of the cars are going less than 5 over. That's good news because that means most of our community is following the rules. So that's kind of a quick overview. Any questions?
The person going 60 and the person going 10, I would assume are married. That very much stood out to me.
So I will say that I left it at 60, and this is what scares me. I don't want to go too deep into this. There are such things as ghost readings that can occur. So it's possible that somebody really wasn't doing 60.
I can't imagine 60 on that road, but
I don't know it to be a fact, but I will say that when we're running radar by person ourselves, we're trying to deal with that. So
you'll see a blip and you know it's not, yeah.
You're trying to read and evaluate the situation.
And is that an equivalent, this tool, is it equivalent to the radar that you run whenever you're actually pointing radar out of your car?
It's made by the same company. So essentially, yes, it's just there's nobody there to visually observe what's going on.
So that's an outlier, just like the people that were 5 or 2 miles per hour is probably an outlier.
It could be.
Yeah. So 2 things I get here. A lot of people aren't following the posted speed limit. Like there's a lot, but there's not a whole lot of people that are going more than 10 miles above the posted speed limit. And this is before we introduce the stop signs in place. So this will be a really good before, and we see what's after that traffic congestion measure's been put in place.
Yeah.
You gotta put it in the same spot though.
Yeah, we do.
Gotta be, yeah, oranges and oranges.
Yes.
If you got 35 cars doing the speed limit and you got 1 or 2 hot rods that's going about 55, it's just, if we could figure out a way to to get those 55-mile-an-hour cars, you know.
Yeah, if people would
I know.
obey the speed limit,
Because they stand out.
right,
You know, I mean, if you're sitting in the front porch and you got a car going 30, then you get one going 58, 60, it's gonna get my attention. And it happens out here on 110. Excuse me, 346. So, yeah.
Sounds to me like that's a job for Ghostbusters and not for the PD, right? So ghost readings.
But I like, this is a great tool.
it is, and since we've had it
Stalker.
for a little while, we had to send it in and they did some, I don't know what they do, they do something. with
Software.
That thing works phenomenal now.
I
They're
salute
getting
you.
great reviews on it.
Good job.
So they've done really well. It's been a good investment.
So now there's 2 stop signs on the road?
There's one at,
I got a picture.
this was there, was it Hillcrest, and one at Station.
Okay.
And y'all also added some cones and other things to kind of help alert the drivers. I went by there today and great job, good, you know.
Right. And our goal is safety.
Yeah.
We want people to be safe and just be aware of it.
All right, any more questions? I guess we'll get another report at some
I
point.
know, I'm
after-
excited to see the other report.
Before and after, so everybody bookmark this report in your browser so that you can have it for
Yep.
before and after.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Chief Robeson.
Thank you, Chief.
Job well done. All right, that takes us to item H5 on the agenda, which is the Railroad Avenue well site update. Mrs. Black.
Mayor and council, I will do my best to update you on this, and Jason Wright, our public works director, has to be out today unexpectedly. So, on October 15th, well number 5, which is located right here along Railroad Avenue, went down. It accounts for approximately 15 to 16% of our water production throughout the city. And after having the well inspected by Russell Drilling, it was determined that the piping, motor pump, and electrical cable had all gone bad and were in need of replacement. This is an unbudgeted expenditure. But to Mr. Wright's knowledge, the well was constructed in 2006 and hasn't had any major repairs since then. So we've got a good lifespan out of it so far. Russell Drilling has been out and done the repairs needed for the well. They originally estimated that cost to be just over $117,000. The actual cost and invoice came in at $106,000.
Wow, that's rare.
Normally for expenditures of that size, we would bring to the council for your approval beforehand. However, given the emergency needs of having this well operational, staff moved forward with that. So we just wanted to give you an update so that you would be aware of it, and it will require a budget amendment as we move throughout the fiscal year. So when we get to the end of the fiscal year, we'll do a budget amendment to the council at that price.
So I'm asking you because he's not here, the average lifespan on these wells, is 16 years decent? Like, did we get what we expected out of it?
So Russell Drilling advised that the average lifespan is approximately 7 years.
Yes.
So.
And this was an unexpected expense?
I know, I read that today and I was like,
We are
wow.
working to improve our capital asset management
Yes,
and
okay.
keep better track of that so that we can make these repairs proactively and preventatively. That is one of the goals of our new public works director. So hopefully going forward, we'll have a better schedule for these types of repairs.
Yeah, we have an inventory management platform, right? That was something that,
Yeah.
wasn't that something you brought up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so,
Muni site.
but people have to know the date to put in there. It's kind of hard to find
Yeah.
sometimes, so yeah.
Yeah, that was my only question or comment was there a way to get these on like an annual inspection type thing? Where we could foresee when they're gonna fail?
So yes and no. To pull a well pump motor is $10,000 to $20,000 depending on the motor, just to have it assessed. So
Oh, wow.
we normally don't do that unless
But
it
if
needs
they
a
don't
repair.
Okay, that was my only
But
thought
if we
when I
can
was
keep
there.
it on a schedule, maybe we can look at and evaluate some of these things and just keep it.
When you say that, I assume we're gonna take the 117 budget now and try to break it up into our annual budget so that there's an allocation for when these do fail every 7 years?
So cities, we don't normally do like a sinking fund for equipment repairs, or maintenance on these types of things. What we should be doing is putting it in our capital improvement plan budget every year for just replacement. So it is something similar to what we do for water tank painting. We allocate like every third year to plan to have a tank painted. So we'll do the same for this. Every so many years we will plan to replace a well pump motor, those types of things.
I say we just shoot for another 16 years.
We don't allocate a portion of it annually. We just do it in chunks.
You just
based on
take the
whatever's
hit
on
when
the
you get the
schedule.
hit, yeah,
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, I guess it's hard to just hold on to tax funds and just keep it in an account, just waiting for
Right.
something to happen. It's a weird, you have to really show your work, I would imagine, to make sure that you're holding back taxpayer funds for a specific purpose. That's why, schools are built by bonds and things are built by bonds. We can't just save money, just keep it in an account somewhere.
Right.
So, yeah, it is a weird game they have to play, that a business would operate totally differently. Like,
Yes.
if the city was a rent house and we were figuring out how much it would cost us every year to repair it, we would just keep money in an account and, take that as part of our overhead.
So this was repaired. What's the actual cost on a new, or something like this one?
If you wanted like a whole new well site,
Not site, just like this was the motor, the
so they
guts, all that.
replaced, it is a brand new motor, pump, valves. This is not a refurbish.
Okay, everything, okay. That's what that would cost, okay.
Yes.
Oh, I see. So you replaced the equipment, you repaired the well by replacing the
Yes.
equipment. Okay, that part was,
Sorry.
I got you.
So at that, are they saying, now, there's a year warranty on it, I get that. But now that everything is new, does that put us at another 7 years?
That's
Is that
for
what, I mean,
those, for that equipment, yes.
correct, okay,
Until we
yeah.
expect it to fail again.
Yeah, until another chain breaks or, gets struck by lightning. These things are prone to get struck by lightning for whatever reason, or
Okay.
one of them rustful.
So in the grand scheme of things, it was fairly inexpensive to replace, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, a new well site would be
Astronomical, right?
millions, 2 million,
Yeah.
I think is what it's up to now.
What do you mean, a whole new pipe, everything?
Like a well in your
You have to buy
backyard,
the
if we
land,
dug one in
you
your
have to
backyard, it'd be
all
$2
the
million.
electronics to run it. I
All
mean,
right.
it's controlled by SCADA systems, so we don't.
And we're not even after natural gas. Yeah, so.
All right, any more questions or input on this? I don't believe there's an action from this, it's just kind of an update from the city, okay. All right, that takes us down to H6, Broadband RFI update.
That's what I'm after.
Mayor and council, when I put this agenda item on there, I was really hoping I'd have good news for you, that we'd have the RFI out. We were this close. I've asked Melissa Beaudry for an update and didn't get that back today, so, hopefully I will have something for you soon. We've sent our corrections, and I think I'm just waiting on those to get back to me, and we will get that published. But we have begun approving permits for Frontier. So, we have had a couple of permits approved, 2 approved, and we've got more on the way, hopefully.
Several have come back for their third round, so I'm hoping that is the end and we'll have them ready to go.
And we have, so this RFI was part of the feasibility study that came out, and that feasibility study was handed over to the East Texas Council of Governments to take projects out of that, including their action plan as well. So we're kind of hitting this from several angles. It's not gonna interfere with the RFI if it goes out and we get a private partner to come in on that too. So it's just more funding options for what we developed as a part of that feasibility plan, our local middle mile in the city.
So shovel in the dirt, maybe, of course, January, February,
Frontier has 2 permits that they can move
They
on.
could begin right now.
any day now.
So I do think they want to have several approved before they schedule their crews, because I think once they get here, they like to go pretty swiftly. So maybe they may wait just a little bit longer to see how quickly these next permits get
But just because and y'all can help, you computer guys can relate to this. I mean, you put the cable down in the ground, and that doesn't mean it's ready to go. You gotta turn it on, and there's several other steps.
I think by the time they lay the fiber, it'll be hot. So, yeah, I don't think they would do the work of putting the fiber in the ground until they have an exchange. What do you think, John?
More than likely, you're right.
Yeah.
If I see you out there with a shovel helping.
Yeah, right.
I'm gonna be out there with my camera.
If you have a trench dug for them, maybe they'll just lay it in there.
It's not a
Hey,
bad-
keeps me in shape.
Please call before you do.
So the question, when they're approving these permits, how many residences does this cover? It's a stretch whenever they're getting it approved, right?
Good question.
It varies.
It varies, okay, but it's not just one house. They're not
No.
approving a house at a time. Just want to
No,
make that.
it covers, the last one I did, I think started on West Main and came around the corner and went south. I don't wanna say how far, but it went a good way south on Highway 110.
Okay, yeah. So they're getting the legs of this approved, is what it sounds like.
So they don't have to put a cable, and not to complicate, but they don't have to put a cable and start in Tyler and go all the way down 110. Some of the structure's already there.
Yeah, the permits they're getting are specific to the city.
So you got a hot line already.
Well, they'll use a high line some places, they'll bury it in some places. They'll use whatever right of way they currently have, and then they'll just add to that with these.
They're gonna overlash as much as they can, but just because it's cheaper and faster.
Somebody still may get a Christmas present. Maybe.
Yeah,
Maybe.
could be.
Yeah.
If you want fiber.
That's why I asked about 2 months ago.
I know.
But staff's done everything, and I commend you for, hey, good job.
It's,
Susan has taken on the brunt of
It takes
everything,
time.
and
It
has
takes
really done
time.
a great job of wrangling all of
It's
the
gotta be done
back and
right.
forth of the process and establishing the process
Right.
from the beginning, so.
that's the most impressive part, is something finally made it all the way through.
Very
So
true.
Now,
That's right.
that's the hardest part, is that first bit of water out of the well, and the rest of it's easy, so I'm glad to hear it.
Yep.
Anything else on this subject? Any more questions or comments? All right, that takes us to item H7. We're considering future agenda items. You guys looking forward to discussing anything next year? Whole new year.
What about the streetlights on Willingham? Could we look at putting an additional couple of them on there, or instead of just talking, can we make it happen?
Is that under Encore's purview? I'm not even sure where.
So they want the request to come from us initially, because we're the ones that pay for the streetlights.
All right.
So we could certainly, at the staff level, take a look at that and see where we need to.
That's almost part of it. I'm sure there's places in the city, it's almost like there needs to be a study done, and then prioritized it. And I bet there's a few places that have dark corners. I'm just thinking of some of the roads that go north off of 346 over here.
Good, Mayor.
They're living out in
Yeah.
the country as soon as you turn down that
I
road.
don't know, does it cost, $10 million to put a streetlight in? I don't know how much money. I don't know. Of course, you've got labor, I don't have a clue.
So there's no cost to the city. The only cost to the city is for the operation of the light, the electricity
The
the
load.
light uses. But
Right.
the cost of installation is on Encore. Encore does have their streetlight map in the public domain. You can go look at that and see where they are.
You've been nice enough to do that for me a couple of
Yeah.
times, and I
So, but
appreciate it.
if anybody that wants to can go out and take a look at it.
Boy, I love streetlights. I got one in front of my house, and it's just,
So we'll
it's
say for
wonderful.
everyone that loves
Would you
them,
like the
there
one in
is
front of
another
my house?
person that hates
Exactly.
them.
I know.
So,
I know,
Yeah.
I know, you're
Shines
right.
in my bedroom window.
You're right.
so just keep that in mind, kind of like stop signs.
If it came with a remote control, it'd be cool.
Put aluminum
Straight
foil,
light make
aluminum
really
foil on the
good
windows, it does
5G
wonders.
microseals.
But can we just take a look at it,
Sure.
after the first, just,
Is that something that you could share with city, maybe just mail it out to city council, what that survey is, where all the streetlights are?
That link,
Yeah, if you could just send that out to council, we can
and
take.
find out from, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, I have it pulled up if anyone would like to look afterwards. I have it already on.
Thank you,
I was
Susan.
looking at that.
Find out what it costs maybe for an LED, per day, or it's
Is
minuscule.
that what they're installing now, is LEDs?
Oh, yes.
In those, so we would be on the hook for the cost of electricity for the LEDs.
And just for my brain, if we wanted to widen the road and we had billions of dollars and we could do it, is it a tech dot or is it a city of White House?
on Willingham,
Mhm.
it is City White House.
We'd lose some houses or businesses.
I know, cause they're, yes.
Yeah, there's
I just
hardly any
wanna
front
know.
Would
yard
it
on
be
some of those.
for a light? That's gonna be TxDOT, right?
A light
Down at
wave.
the end? At the end of Willingham where that transmission shop is?
Yes.
So,
That would be text.
Willingham and Maine,
And
It's literally backed up 30 cars in the morning.
yeah. Yeah, cause the ones that need to go left to get to the junior high are just, yeah.
maybe a turn lane would be nice, huh?
They're gonna be,
It
the
is.
proximity to the traffic signal at Maine will be
Mhm.
Issue.
their biggest.
At 110 in Maine? Yeah.
That's
I was
why,
wondering that
like,
too.
one of those side roads to cut over onto 110 and
Mm-hmm.
divert out that way would at least give you a safe outlet.
Yeah.
Cause people are cutting through the willows to go out
Yep.
and get out on the other side.
If it wasn't a monumental task, Richland Hills is right outside our city limits, and it backs up to a place that would be pretty pretty short path to get over to Paluxy, like where Paluxy comes down. I look at that map all the time, and I'm like, man, if we had that through lane, then,
So what is at the end of Willingham on the corner with Main on each side? You said a transmission shop?
and then houses. Well, there's an open lot that's on the
Yeah.
north, west corner.
I wonder
It's
if
pretty
we,
small
I wonder
lot.
if we could put, like, widen just that end to put a left turn lane in.
Oh, to 3-lane it there at the end?
Just at the
Look at
end.
that, Leslie wrote that down.
Y'all,
I've written down several things.
While we're talking about it, how
No,
about a
no,
loop
There-
around the
there
city?
is a left- There is a left turn.
is
It's
there?
coming one day.
There's a left turn lane.
There's, yeah, there is, but there's no
It's a
traffic
left
light, that's
But
kind of, you know,
one-ten?
The problems
Free
is,
for all.
Georgia, the people that are turning into it back up the turn lane coming into Willingham,
Uh-huh.
so you can't turn left anyway.
I see what you're saying.
yeah, that traffic turn lane,
Mhm.
yeah,
It's-
it backs up that far.
It's like, so you really need to go out onto 110 loop and come out on the light,
Mm-hmm,
so.
I see what you're saying.
And I appreciate staff looking at Willingham on the light, street lights. It's not the first time. I've heard a few rumblings. You know, like you can't even see the intersection. You know, me and lights, kinda like signs, you know. So,
Well, I don't love knowing that kids are walking in at night either, because that's what I was wondering about the width of it. Because it doesn't even have like a normal shoulder. It's like that, like baby shoulder.
well, memory
So-
lane's the same way. I mean, I hold my breath every time
Yeah,
in the morning on the front
Yeah.
porch, and I'm worried to
Well,
death.
and it's,
Yeah.
our city is walkable, and I love that you can walk to the park if you're a kid pretty much anywhere you live in city limits. But yes, also, streets like Memory and Willingham are not safe to walk.
You're
I
right.
also see kids walking on 110
Oh, hell yes, they
all the
do.
time. It's the same thing, and that's a
Yes.
very unsafe thing to do as well.
I've done my
Yeah.
bicycle once and never again.
No matter where you go, we're
I
gonna
know.
have those issues.
so I think maybe that would be, we're considering future agenda items is, it would be good to maybe start the year with, I think the parks planning was gonna include sidewalks and considerations for residential. And the sooner we can get that on our agenda,
Yeah, sidewalk on Willingham. Is that the same way as Councilmember Harris said? If we wanted to put in new roads there, it would be us. Same thing with the sidewalk. That would be on the city, not TxDOT.
yeah, that's a city street.
I think sidewalks on 110 are more important because we have
I know,
kids
that's TxDOT,
every
isn't it?
single day.
Isn't that
Going
TxDOT
to
110?
eat.
Yeah.
Acre tap is, please, a really thing we need to look at, guys.
That's highest on my list right now.
I know.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, I'm not sure how many agenda items were added from that, or,
Like 3 years worth of work right there.
Yeah.
We
that's
got
the whole year, you got the whole year planned, Mrs. Black,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Miss
We're also
Leslie.
gonna throw a party.
Well, I like the Willingham thing because it's progress, right? We're putting in more homes there. We're progressing. We're trying to progress the area. So, you know, for us to look into progressing the other stuff on top of that is great. I think it's good. You know,
Exactly.
you put something in, then it propels on to the next step and then the next step. But
Yeah.
if you don't have those steps, we're never going to move forward.
Well, and that's the thing with Hagen, like, I think Hagen could eventually be widened with TxDOT help, but the thing is, you have to increase, and they won't just go, oh, we're gonna be proactive, they're gonna be reactive.
Right.
So, yeah,
Right.
Yeah. It'll be something new for council is, you know, how to negotiate, politically, financially, you know, how to do all that
yeah,
stuff.
I mean,
so-
I don't want kids to get run over, obviously.
Right.
Well, I'll tell you this, Whataburger, I'm excited, but boy, I tell you what, it's gonna be something when you got traffic going 60, 65 miles an hour and you're pulling out on both lanes, out of, you know, going left. Wow.
That'll be all right.
Is that
I
an
know.
agenda? Are you?
No, it's just a,
No,
just
it
a,
would-
sorry, I don't mean.
No, there's several, I mean, I'm sure all of us have stuff in our head.
Is Hagen the same way as Willingham? If
Yes,
we
there's
wanted to
no
widen it?
sidewalks. Yeah, it's all residential,
It would
both
be the
sides.
city though. No, I mean, it would be
Yeah,
the city to do that.
Right.
Because
Lot of
maybe looking at.
houses, property lines are real.
Yeah.
They are, they're really
True,
good.
what if we looked at putting like a middle down the road in there? So it was like
just to
still
stripe
two,
it?
yeah, well, yeah, but maybe widening it just a tad so it gives more space. Cause that's narrow.
We've done that on a section, the plan is to do it all the way down.
Yeah.
I think I know that
Yeah,
section, it was
that-
very nice, I thought
yeah.
I saw it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And
Just
those
gives more
properties
space.
that you see that have experienced that widening is what the rest of the people would be living.
True, I
in.
get it, and, you know, again, we made choices
Yeah,
to
yeah.
move there.
Good discussion though.
Yeah.
Real good.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Roads,
If nothing
man.
else, yeah.
I know, just
Good thing.
roads.
At least we don't have any bridges. We don't have to worry about that. All right, so item I, administrative reports, receive reports from staff. We have our November report, really good data in there.
See these.
All the data, it's a meeting full of data today.
Yeah.
You'll see some 2023 numbers. Don't let that discourage, or don't let that
Oh, I
confuse
was
you.
already freaked out.
Our fiscal year starts, fiscal year starts at the end of
Look at it.
September, so.
Right.
Your October numbers
Yeah.
are the quantities that were required during that month, so you'll see values all the way up through November. I had to take a second look at that. I was like, 2023? Yeah, that's why.
You know what's good when the sewer revenue goes up?
Look at the sales tax revenue.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at.
I know, that
It's
took
off
a
to
And this
big
is
old
what,
jump
Councilman Lowe,
start.
just the,
start, for sure.
just the beginning.
That's right.
Just the beginning.
That's right.
It's really nice.
Why we're always load slowly?
It's because you're on an Apple. All right, any questions or comments about the?
That was an
reports
opinion,
from
by the
staff?
way, of his, not because you're on.
Yeah,
the
does not,
We'll
that
discuss later.
does not reflect city opinion.
Susan's been a little busy.
Yeah, good grief.
2022 numbers.
You're not kidding. Yeah.
It's good to see we got more theft than stolen vehicles. Is that an overlap? Is that considered a theft? No? Okay. Yeah, I see I guess we've had a lot of, people pushing the limits and, our police are out enforcing the law. I mean, that happens every once in a while. We get people that are just speeding too much and they have to hunker down and start writing tickets, you'll see some of that, so. You'll get feedback from the community every once in a while. White House is a speed trap. It's a cycle. It happens.
My question on that, you brought that up, is, the cleaners that used to be there, is that
Eagles?
city-owned?
Eagle cleaners?
Yeah, that used to be there, that property?
I think it's still owned by the same.
Private-owned, right? So is a police officer able to sit on residential just like that, a private property, to gun people, to speed, like speeding, catch somebody speeding? Is that legal?
Shoot radar back towards town or back towards?
Yeah, so like literally they're sitting in, and this is all, this question just in a blanket of all residential.
Chief Robeson can answer that.
How about that?
So I think you're asking, can we sit in somebody's parking lot? Is that the question?
Private property,
Yeah, so typically we won't go into private property and sit unless there's a need, and we might request that, but that's not a normal situation. So I would sit in somebody's driveway. For businesses, we typically will use that unless we're requested not to. And there have been times we've been requested not to sit in different areas, and we'll move on. But as far as legality, we're free to travel within the city. We're not bound by like trespassing laws or anything like that. We can go wherever we need to go, and we'll work traffic in those areas. And generally, most businesses don't care because it deters theft or other potential problems. But there are times we're told not to, and we'll move on.
They, for the most part, love it. I worked at Papa John's. We gave free pizza to police officers so that they would park there and pick up their pizza.
Exactly.
We annexed a storage building down 346, and the property owner was like, "Feel free to use my property. Feel free to rest there." It's a storage building. They want officers. So I understand what you're saying. Are we pushing some limits with the property owners? But for the most part, they invite it.
okay.
The neighborhoods that have a lot of the street parking that seem to get hit hardest on these, like, just sweeps of unlocking cars and stealing at night, are we regularly patrolling in the middle of the night?
So that's one of the things that we're really good at,
Okay.
is doing a lot of driving around at night.
Mhm.
So yes, we're there. The difficulty is manpower versus the size of the city.
Yeah.
It's, it's unfortunate that, we can be in one part of the city and they're happening in another part of the city. And so, yes, we're constantly going around. That's one of the things that they're mandated to do.
I had a small argument with a citizen this week who never sees the police patrolling her neighborhood, and I said, "Are you standing in your yard 24 hours a day?" Obviously not. So
Right,
I
and
just
we're
wanted people
open,
to say.
we're open if somebody, just kind of throw out there, we do extra patrols if people are going on vacation, they can call in and we can do those things.
Okay.
If they're seeing a potential problem, we have ways to address it. We have other means than just driving around. You know, we had the speeding complaints on Corey, we put the trailer out. And actually, the people who are out there observing it say that slows it down. So there are means and ways of handling different things, and we're open to listening to, you know, if somebody wants extra patrol in their neighborhood, we'll come by.
I tried to read the ordinance on the golf carts in the neighborhoods, and it's confusing.
It's confusing.
Oh, come on.
Okay, so I think on Halloween, they should have a free-for-all and go crazy, but like if I go pick up a kid in a neighborhood and there's kids on golf carts, I'm like, this is weird to me.
Yeah, it's legal as long as the speed limit's below a certain amount. You can even cross the text dot roads as long as you're going from one.
you have
It's
to have
a
a
very controversial topic.
Yeah.
It is.
So there's state law and
Yeah.
there's our ordinance and there's other things built into it. I'm not personally prepared to be able to answer all those at
Okay.
the moment because I have to get back into it. But the guys that are working the street, they understand it way better than,
Okay.
I just not something I do every day. But
It-
yes, that is confusing.
It is. It's just
It's
weird to see kids
everywhere.
driving them. Like,
Oh, yeah, they shouldn't be under 8. I don't think that.
no,
they
I'm
have to
talking
be
like
licensed.
10,
To be
11
over
years old.
16.
Yeah, I don't think that's
Okay.
allowed.
And it
That's-
happens.
Yes.
Yes.
And we're not the only one experiencing it.
No, you're not.
Wherever it's at.
Yeah.
Yeah, anybody that has any kind of complaints, concerns, we're welcome to come call us, contact us. And I'll throw one more thing out. I keep seeing sometimes, since we're online here, people talk about somebody come knock on their door. Call us.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
if something's happening immediately, call us and we can get there and check on it.
There was a video posted this week of a guy that looked like he was literally trying their handle. That
Call
was
us.
interesting.
wow.
Yes,
Absolutely.
on their Ring doorbell.
And if you see anything suspicious,
Construction area though, so I.
I don't really know. I just saw the video and I was like, did you call the police?
and I-
that's a big part of what helps us grow as a community without having to double our police force is the community police and being aware of what's going on with your neighbors, not hesitating to call and report something out of place, because it might actually be.
It amazes me how successful some of these people are at 2 o'clock in the morning. It's just amazing. I mean, what do they do during the day?
Sleep.
I mean, I know it's another subject.
That's what they do.
That's when they visit the pawn shops. All right, so that takes us over. If there's no more questions about the reports from staff, we also have our income statement as a part of this agenda item. If there's any questions or comments about that. I'd give it a solid 5 count.
Questions for me?
No.
All right, so that brings us to this, J, executive session. Pursuant to Chapter 551, Texas Government Code, the city reserves the right to convene this executive session from time to time as deemed necessary during this meeting. The city council may reconvene into executive session to discuss any or all of the following topics, pending or contemplating litigation, to seek the advice of the city attorney pursuant to Section 551.071, possible purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate pursuant to Section 551.072, personnel matters pursuant to Section 551.074, economic development, negotiations pursuant to Section 551.087. Tonight we're going to meet on pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.074. The council will convene to executive session to discuss personnel matters regarding the quarterly review of the city manager. And we will be meeting right across the breezeway over there.
Did you see the frown?
The time is now 7:32, and we will convene into executive session.
Thank you, James.
Thank you, James. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, we already evaluated you. You did.
I gotta go.
Seems like it hasn't been that long.
Let's do it again, I guess.
It's already been a
I just did so much more, let's do it again.
To the left.
Sorry about this. It's all right.
I'll let you know when
indoor pool.
That's oddly specific but accurate.
Exactly, thank you. See?
Yeah, I get it.
Oh, Lord, Mayor, I don't know.
All right, 1 second, let me get my academics in order here.
And I'm waiting
That's
for
what happens when
the
you take aspirin.
you two to actually catch up with
It's
this.
old age.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you lucky dog. Trey Lee.
Vitamin C.
Yeah.
The delay. The YouTube delay.
Are we on yet? No?
Well, it's still saying executive session, it's still got the.
Anybody watch any Christmas movies yet?
Yes.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's a wonderful
Got it.
life.
Christmas
Watch that.
vacation.
Good one.
We've
The-
seen Christmas
the-
Vacation.
you can never get better.
No.
I watched Die Hard. That was
Die
good.
Hard Christmas, yes.
Movie.
Chevy Chase is unbelievable.
I love it.
I crack up.
Can't
love it.
stand Christmas movies or Christmas music.
Oh.
So
I
didn't-
I'll
I didn't-
bug all of
Oh,
See how
no.
diverse
I
that
didn't
council
Christmas
is.
vacation.
Look at Leslie's face. Look what you
Christmas
you
vacation
crushed
is
her.
funny.
You gonna do a quick little 30-second?
No,
I see
please.
us, I see us on,
We're green, right?
Oh, okay, it's not over here yet. Okay.
okay.
Perfect.
The time is now 8:03 and we will reconvene out of executive session into regular council session. Are there any action items coming out of executive session?
Yes, after our quarterly review of the city manager, we would like to extend a directive to her to provide all current employees with an annual stipend, due to inflation this year.
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion from Councilwoman Harris, a second from Councilwoman Briscoe. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, with that, that motion carries. And that takes us down to item L, adjourn. I would like a motion for adjournment, please.
Make a motion to adjourn, please.
Second?
Rosenstein, seconded by Councilman Lowe. With that, the time is 8:04 and we are adjourned.
Whoa!
Hey, heavy gavel.
Got my
They got
attention.
some poster tapers.
Now,
That was ridiculous.
now,
This is
Councilman
safety.
Rosenstein, will we see you after the first of the year, sir?
Yes, I will be here for the one on the
Sufficient force
ninth.
to make it,
Yes.
so.
Yeah, that's
The
gonna
one
happen.
after that, yes.